So morning practice, morning meditation. If you've already been up for a while, which most of you probably have, because you're here, or with your computer switched on, we will probably already have a sense of how we are this morning, how you are, how you got out of bed. Were you kind of rudely awoken by your alarm? Or did you wake up gently and naturally? When you woke up, did you feel you had enough rest or not enough rest? And sometimes I wake up and I think I haven't because the alarm woke me up. And at that point I feel very sleepy. But then once I've got up and moved around, my energy starts to come up. And sometimes I wake up and I feel very alive, very ready for the day right away. Many factors can influence that. And it's not always my body and whether I'm well rested. It can also be mentally. Is it Monday morning or is it the first day of your holiday? So reflecting back on your morning, how has your body been and how has your mental attitude been to the day so far? And then coming into the present. The present moment, our bodies in the here and now. And see if we can receive the present moment so we can reflect that in our posture. We can turn our palms up. We can open our arms out a little bit if you're lying down, out to the side, or hands on your knees. Letting the hands still rest or in quite a restful place. Also open. Our eyes softly open, receiving the morning light, which is bright on this given morning. Receiving the in-breaths. Letting go of your out-breaths. And receiving sounds. All the different sounds you can hear near and far. And seeing if there's something in the present moment that we can appreciate. Might be a pleasing sound. The fact that we are awake and alive, breathing. We always have this choice, so even if we get out of the wrong side of the bed, I think the expression is, we do have a bit of Monday morning reluctance, whatever it is. We always have the choice to notice what's not wrong in the present moment, or even what's good, what we could appreciate. And then we can place our hands on our lower ribs. So your little fingers are on your belly, your upper abdomen, your thumbs on your rib cage, elbows wide. You can do this sitting or lying. And then breathing out fully so you can feel your ribs tapering in towards your waist. And breathing in deeply. And doing up to 6 of these kind of awakening breaths. Less if it feels too strong. Really feeling your breath. Waking up your lungs. And when you've done up to 6, and whether you're lying or sitting, you can take your arms to about shoulder level. Stretch them out. Straighten your arms. And then taking your hands above your head and interlacing them, and you could rest your head in your hands for a moment. If you're lying down, your hands behind your head. If you're sitting, doing the same as me. Gently opening your shoulders, noticing your breathing now. And then you can extend your arms upwards above your crown, keeping your fingers interlaced. And then again, breathing out fully, taking a deep breath in. And then releasing your arms, letting your hands come back down. And then if you're lying down at the moment, bringing your knees in towards you and take a gentle rock from side to side. And if you're sitting, you can do a gentle seated twist. Looking around your space. And then coming back to find your center, aligning your head with your tailbone. Just pausing for a moment, noticing your body and your breathing. Be on all fours, kind of finding our neutral position where the knees are over the hips, the shoulders are more or less over the wrists, and if your wrists find this angle a bit challenging, you can take your hands a bit further forwards, or you could come down to your elbows. And we can go into a forward bend, exhaling so we feel the tummy drawing towards the spine. Inhaling, we can let the belly hang loose. Kind of noticing the movement of the diaphragm there. And then we can, at the same time as we just keep breathing, we can have a bit of a wriggle. Especially feeling around your shoulders, upper back. Breathing quite naturally and freely. And then we can go into the backward bend. So we're letting the spine curve the other way, looking up, looking out into the world. And this often does remind me a bit of a sort of curious puppy. And then again, we can have a bit of a wriggle, like we're wagging our tail, and being gentle. So if any of this doesn't feel good on your spine, then do less, make the movement smaller. And then we can bring our hips to our heels, or almost our heels maybe is fine too. Bring our hands a bit closer. And then just lifting the heels of the hands and lowering. So this is often referred to as puppy dog pose. And if your hips are a bit higher than because of your knees or your ankles, you can still do this. There'll be maybe a bit more weight on your hands and a bit more effort in your legs than with this one. So see how it is for you. Stretching the undersides of our fingers. Good. And then we'll go back to the wriggly cats. So the forward bend cat. Breathing freely and then having a bit of a wriggle. Aware of the back of the body and the breath. And your belly relaxing as you inhale. Drawing back as you exhale. And then the backward bend cat looking forward, up. And with a bit of a wriggle, waggly tail. And then going into the puppy dog, lifting and lowering the heels of the hands, taking the pressure off the wrists, strengthening the forearms. That's great. And then we can come to upright kneeling. So hopefully our knees are okay. Do use a knee pad. I've got a thin cushion there. And again, we can interlace our fingers and stretch up. So here you might bend your elbows a little bit. See how it is on your shoulders. Just check that out. And then take a little side stretch a couple of times from side to side. And then releasing our arms and then interlacing in the way that feels a bit strange. So this is my normal way. And if I then do that, it feels a bit peculiar. And then again, stretching up with the palms up, checking what sort of elbow bend would be best for you. Maybe quite straight, maybe a bit more of a circle around your head. And then again, a couple of gentle side bends from side to side. And then releasing our arms and shaking our arms out a little bit. Good. And then I like to play this little game with myself to see if I can come up from kneeling, upright kneeling, without using my hands on the floor. So it's a little kind of agility and strength test, which I quite like to do sometimes. And it does get easier. Great. So I will start by checking we've got enough space around us to step around and step from side to side. So you might need to create a bit more room, as I'm just doing. So basically, to have space to spread your arms out and to kind of go this way and that way. So I've just got enough room here in my space. And then standing in the middle of that space, in the center. So the first part of this practice is a centering practice, which we do a lot, which is helpful when we feel kind of a bit all over the place. So we did a lot of it at the beginning of the COVID crisis, when everyone felt kind of quite unsettled. I think we're more settled now generally, but we can still benefit from centering. So the first thing would be to center our weight on our feet, so we can check, go from side to side. I have a habit to put more weight on my left foot, so I always need to check whether I'm using my right foot, because if I'm not, then everything goes slightly out in my postural alignment. And then there's the forwards and backwards as well. So again, depending on our state of mind, the state of our nervous system, we might sometimes be more on the front of our feet. That could be enthusiasm or getting ready, doing. So we might choose to kind of center ourselves back from that a little bit to feel calmer. And sometimes we're more on the back foot, as it were, maybe slightly taken aback or startled. It's the beginning of this kind of getting away from, potentially. Could just be a yoga exercise, like where are my heels? But finding the center between the two is basically a neutral zone. So centering is kind of coming back to neutral, as it were, where we can take stock, you could say. So side to side, forwards and back. Bringing our body to the center kind of brings our mind to this neutral place and helps with our postural alignment. And then we can be aware of ourselves in the upwards and downwards directions as well. So a sense of dropping down through the feet. We might call that grounding, being aware of our feet, being aware of the earth. This is the earth salutation. And then up through the crown, as if an invisible thread draws us up towards the sky. So we're standing tall in a way that feels fairly natural and effortless. It might not feel natural if our usual posture is a bit like this, but what I mean is really a sense of ease. Sense of ease in that uprightness. And then we're going to bring the hands together in the diamond gesture. So I'll just come a bit closer to the screen so you can see. So tips of the thumbs together, tips of the index fingers together, and tips of the middle fingers together. And then the other fingers spreading out. So it's kind of vaguely a diamond shape in the middle, and then the other fingers maybe indicating the sparkle. So it gives a kind of a sense of focus, this gesture. This bringing these fingertips together is quite focusing, and again centering. They're coming together in front of the center of the body, the heart at the moment, and then opening out from that. Again, which is kind of also relevant to our class theme this morning, opening to the day with kind of calm, but also opening, something sparkly, something a little bit energizing. And then if it feels okay for your shoulders, you can bring your hands to above the crown of your head or in front of your eyebrow center, forehead. So whatever feels okay for you. And then taking a breath in and exhaling the arms down. And then resting the right hand in the left. And in this moment, the thumbs can be together. So this is a meditation gesture. It's also quite a meditative sequence, especially if we do it quite slowly. So come to there. And then throughout the sequence, we'll do the following movement with the arms and the hands. So we're going to take the hands up, and then at that moment, your thumb tips will probably come apart, and that's fine. I'm going to take the hands up, so you can start to just the level of the heart, and then down to the level of the belly, and then forwards, letting the hands separate, and up and down. So we can keep this movement quite small. Let's do this a few times and see how it feels. You can be quite small like this, which will be gentler if you've got any joint problems, particularly around your shoulders, maybe your elbows and wrists. It can be very soft and small. Also, if you've got a bit low energy, you could keep it small. Notice how it is to keep it small, and then if you feel like it, I can see some of you going for it already, you can go, let's really make it big and wake up. We can be aware of always kind of coming back to the center, the midline, and opening up from there. And then another thing we can add, again, it's just optional, is to do this with our breathing. So if you pause with your hands in front of the lower belly, back to that meditation gesture, your centered standing, you can then start the movements on an in-breath, breathing in, going up, breathing out, going down, breathing in, going up, and out, going down. So just do a couple with the pace of your own breathing, and notice how that feels. Excellent, and then we can pause again there. So there's lots of ways of doing any yoga sequence, really. Fast, slow, aligned in a precise manner with the breath or with free breathing, putting more or less effort in. And so we always have that choice. And if you're quite new to this sequence, you haven't done it before, or maybe you've got some sense that we're going too slow or too fast for your natural breath, and then it's nice to just focus on the movements. If you enjoy aligning it with your breathing, you find that helpful, or particularly if it's calming for you, you might choose to do that. Then you can do that once we go through the whole thing. And then there's several movements that go with these arm movements. And the first one is a squat. So I'm going to move my screen a bit again to show you when I come down to a squat. So at that point, we'll have our feet a bit wider apart, and we'll be taking our hands up, and then as the hands come down, going to bend our knees and keep the body fairly upright. So it's a squat rather than a forward bend. And sideways on, it looks like this. Or again, if you've got any knee issues or you just want to be gentle, you might just bend your knees a little bit. And it'd be more like a chair pose, perhaps. So, could be super gentle. Going deeper, maybe even touching the ground, touching the earth with the hand movements. Just practicing a few of these. So you can then check, how are your knees today? How are your hips with this? How's your back? So really looking after yourself, practicing yoga at home. And just look at you, looking good. Excellent. And then coming back to that centered standing. And the next pose, actually I need to show you my feet again, is kind of like a mini warrior. Make sure my head is in the picture as well. So for that one, we'll again start with our feet about mat width apart. And we'll be again using this hand gesture. By the way, you could interlace your fingers as well if you easily sort of get shoulder and neck stiffness. That's sort of supportive to interlace your fingers rather than rest the right hand in the left. And for this one, we would be breathing in, taking our hands up, and then turning to the right. You can let your back foot turn as well, so you're coming into more of a warrior stride. Just check your knee. My knee just locked a little bit, so I'm just shaking that out. And then stretching your arms forwards and then up. And then as you go wide, you turn back to the front. And then to the left side, so you can turn your left foot out, then turn your right foot in, your back foot in, and forwards, and then turning back. So I'll just do that again with the camera more on my feet. And you can have a play around with it as well. So turning, heel down, up, and then back, turning back. And then the other side, turning the front foot, turning the back foot, and turning back. So the main thing is to turn your back foot as well, so you're not putting a torsion on your knee. That's unhelpful. And the arm movement kind of starts to follow fairly naturally once we've got a sense of what the rest of the body is doing. So it's a bit of a coordination practice as well. And then the last posture that's part of this is the forward bend, standing forward bend. And there again, we want to kind of be mindful of our our body's capacity this morning and any back issues. So I'll show you again this view. I know you can't see my head at that moment, but you will in a second. So with this one, we'll be going down and then going down possibly to the floor. You can bend your knees as much as you like. Keep your knees definitely bend as you come up, and if you've got back issues, keep your hands close as you come up. So sideways on, it would look like this. And if your back is strong, you're okay, you're definitely okay with coming up. You could bring your arms forward. So it creates a bit of a lever effect on your spine. And if you need to be extra special careful, just do more like a mini squat again. If you've got any current back issues, please keep it small, keep your knees bent, and keep your hands close to your torso on coming up so you don't get that lever effect. So again, just checking you're in the center of your space, so you've got that room around you to step from side to side, throw your arms around a bit, and finding our centered standing, so our feet on the ground. Change the camera angle very slightly. Our weight equally distributed through our feet, centered from front to back and side to side. Slightly soft knees. So there's a sense of the tailbone releasing downwards. And the crown of the head lengthening up towards the sky. So if you're familiar with the sequence, you can bring the intention into it of saluting the earth as well. If you're still learning, then just focus on the movements, maybe the breath. If you're very familiar, it's lovely to have it as a practice that's about saying hello to the earth, maybe an appreciation practice for nature, which I know many of us are really appreciating. The spring weather and all the beautiful things that are happening in nature right now. So you can start with the sparkly diamond in front of the heart. Diamond gesture. Appreciating and opening towards Earth's gifts on the heart. And then on an in-breath, taking our hands up. And breathing out, taking our arms down. Right hand in the left. And then when you're ready, starting possibly on an in-breath, if you're aligning with the breath. Breathing out on the downward. Breathing in on the upward. Breathing out on the downward. And then stepping slightly to your right. As you continue your arm movements. And then into the squat. And then turning to your right, turning your feet with you. And turning back to the front. And then to your left. And then back to the front. And then the forward bend, which you can keep small, keep your hands near you to protect your back if you need. And then stepping back to where you began. Do another movement here in the center. And taking a small step to your left. And squats deep or quite a high one. And then this mini warrior to your left. Mini warrior to your right. And the forward bend. And you might touch the earth, or you can touch the earth with your awareness. And then coming back to the center. And then the last moment is the hands in the lotus bud gesture, the heart gesture, also like a prayer gesture, greeting. And then relaxing our arms by our side. Lovely. So we'll go through it a couple more times so you can kind of get into the flow of it. And when we do it in yoga classes, I often do it with music, so you can find music that you would like to do it with at home, something gentle and slow, probably maybe some chanting, because there's copyright issues in as recording any music. I haven't added any for today, but if you enjoy doing this, you can play with it. And the other video of it on my YouTube channel has original music with it, which somebody put on it for me. So there's music with that one, which can give it a bit more of a dancey feel, which is quite nice. So again, starting with centering yourself, your feet underneath your hips. Maybe some postural habits have come in that you can again undo to stand in a way that gives you more ease, less effort. And then bringing your hands to your heart. And perhaps reflecting for a moment on your experience of the earth right now, of nature right now in this crisis. A lot of people have expressed gratitude that there's less pollution right now. It's that the earth might have a bit of recovery time, which we might be able to feel grateful for. Aware of our feet on the ground and then the hands going up towards the sky. And on an out breath, bringing our arms down, bringing the hands in front of the lower belly, meditation gesture. And then on your next in-breath, starting the sequence of movements. Taking a small step to your right. Going into a squat. And then a gentle warrior to your right. Turning back into the other side. Going into extinction, rebellion, and so on. A warrior might be part of our earth appreciation too. Forward bend, maybe the hands brush the ground. And coming back to centered standing. Staying in the center for one movement cycle. The arms. And a small step to your left. Squat. Warrior to your left. Sense of whether the earth is something worth fighting for. I think so, being that she's our home. And forward bend. And back to the center. And then the heart gesture. In terms of intention, there's lots of possibilities here. So this might be a kind of moment to silently, or you could say it out loud because all the microphones are muted, to express a wish for the earth. May she be well. May the earth recover. There's these elements of appreciation, of opening towards the beauty, and perhaps that kind of warrior attitude. You know, what attitudes of a warrior could we bring to protect the earth from further damage, to reduce the impact of pollution and climate change? It might not be taking up arms, but it might be supporting recycling schemes, or doing a no plastic experiment. It could be lots of things. Maybe being prepared to pay a bit more money for local produce or organic produce. How can we be a compassionate warrior for the earth? So we'll go through it once more, and again, maybe bringing some of those subtleties into it. If you're still just thinking, are we going left, right, what am I doing? That's fine too. Usually we learn something physically first, and then it can go a bit deeper onto the psychological level of the practice once we've got the outer shapes. So again, taking a moment to center yourself in your mountain pose, as we often call this, which has an earth-like quality as well, of course. And it has that sort of steadiness and stability. So we sometimes use this to make declarations, to be a stand for something, to make a stand. Maybe a sense of being a stand for, being an advocate for the earth in some way, and nature. And then bringing the focus to the heart with the thumb tips, index fingertips, middle fingertips together in the heart. Diamond gesture at the heart. Focus and opening. And taking the hands up. And then exhaling the arms down. Aware of our breathing. And then inhaling the hands up. Exhaling down. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Small step to the right. Into a squat. Warrior to the right. What way can we be warriors for the earth? Forward bend, maybe a bit like making an offering. And then back to the center, centered standing. A sense of opening from our center to nature, the earth, life all around us at the start of this week. Taking a small step to your left. The squat can have that intention of touching the earth, possibly actually touching with your hands. The body is comfortable too. And the compassionate warrior intention to the left. To the right. Forward bend. Back to centered standing, mountain pose. The lotus bud, heart gesture, prayer gesture. Let our chin tip down. Emphasize the embodiment of bowing, respectful gesture. May the earth be well. Release our arms. Notice your body and your mind and how you are right now. Noticing the effect of the sequence. How has it benefited you if it has? As you settle into rest mode, sitting or lying, this awareness of earth-like qualities of whatever is supporting you can be very helpful. Maybe you're directly on the ground floor of your house, so the earth might feel very close. Or on wooden floorboards. Concrete is made of sand and bits of stone. Earth-like qualities are never very far away. They're in our bones. And even structures such as timetables can give us a similar sense of support, having routines. We are creatures of habit, and whilst we do not want to be slaves to our habits, because then it gets too disruptive when we need to change something, too disruptive to our mental stability, we need to be able to be flexible as well and responsive. They can be very reassuring. Noticing the reassuring presence of earth and earth-like structures. And resting into that. Relaxing your physical body into that support. In a similar way to starting the class, you might like to open your eyes, turn your palms up, aware that the backs of your hands are supported on the floor or on your lap. Maybe your back is on the ground, or your legs and your pelvis. And that we can then softly open into our day whilst still resting and being supported. Coming back to receiving the day. Perhaps before we conclude, reminding ourselves of any intentions that have arisen during the class, if they have, maybe a bit of earth appreciation today, noticing what's good, what's nourishing out there in nature. Maybe appreciating the new routines of lockdown, committing to them, so we've got that sense of stability and predictability in our lives, which may still be very helpful. And then when you're ready, taking some deeper breaths and stretching in some way. Opening our eyes, maybe looking around if you've had your eyes closed. And preparing to continue your day.